Peggy, just to something very disturbing, the world must be asking what has led to this dreadful killing rampage last Saturday in Buffalo, New York, where a white 18-year-old has been accused of killing 10 people in a racially motivated attack. He was wearing military gear and live streaming with a helmet camera and is believed to have released a manifesto in which he attributed his radicalisation to Christchurch mosque shooter Brenton Harrison Tarrant. Peggy, what has been the reaction in America?
Well, of course, this is a heartbreaking tragedy, and there's nobody in mainstream thought on the left or the right that supports this at all. And of course, to fit the narrative, they often try to say, well, this is right wing extreme ideology. There's no one on the right in mainstream thought that supports this either. And we have to remember that it's not guns that kill people, it's people using guns who kill
Correct.
people. And the strictest laws in the world only restrict the freedoms of law abiding citizens. Criminals don't follow the laws. And in fact, this gentleman bought a gun legally, going through the background check from a licensed dealer, but then illegally modified it and crossed state lines to buy ammunition that was prohibited in New York. And so criminals are always going to find a way around it. I don't know that gun laws are the answer to a crime like
Just
this,
for the
which of
benefit
course is a
of our
tragedy.
viewers, this fellow is only 18, killed 10 people and injured 3. There were 11 black and 2 white victims, and then he surrendered to authorities. Reports say America is gripped with racial tensions, gun violence, and a spate of hate crimes. Is that how you see it, Peggy?
Well, it's heartbreaking. And it's not just this white supremacist that he's being accused of being. We saw in California this last weekend in Laguna Beach, a shooter walked into a Taiwanese church because he hated Taiwanese people. We see black on black crime every weekend in Chicago and other big cities. And so this is not just exclusively a white supremacy issue, even though the left wants to paint it as such. There's a bigger issue of violence, crime, and disorder in big cities all across America. A lot of it due to district attorneys and attorneys general who refuse to prosecute smaller crimes. And so it leads to these bigger crimes. You know, Rudy Giuliani decades ago subscribed to this broken windows
Broken
theory, where if
windows
you
theory,
fix
yep.
the graffiti in the broken windows,
Yep.
you're not going to have the bigger crimes.
That's
And so
dead
that's a
right.
huge part of what is going on right now.
Dead right. If you see a broken window, find out who did it, because if you don't find out who did it, he'll next be stealing a car, next be robbing a bank. This gunman lived 320 kilometres southeast of Buffalo. Has anyone established why he travelled to Buffalo and that particular grocery store? I mean, he arrived at the supermarket in his car. He shot 4 people outside the store, 3 fatally. Inside the store, a security guard who was a retired Buffalo police officer fired shots, but a bullet that hit the gunman's bulletproof vest had no effect. The gunman then killed the guard and stalked through the store, shooting other victims. Peggy, there is some talk of him posting a manifesto online outlining his racist, anti-immigrant and anti-Semitic beliefs, including a desire to drive all people not of European descent from America. Where on earth do these ideas come from?
Yeah. Well, we see extreme ideology happening all over the world, and it's sad
Yep.
when we see it here at home. It breaks your heart that there was nobody in this young man's life who saw what was happening, whether it was parents or friends, or the school actually had problems with him earlier, but he just kind of got passed on through the system. And what a tragedy. You know, it's not illegal to have racist views or these anti-Semitic rants. And as terrible as it is, those are not illegal. But when it leads to illegal behavior, it's just tragic and heartbreaking. And you just wish that everybody had somebody in their life who would stop these issues
Absolutely.
before they
You just
become
made
so large and tragic.
You just made a point there, Peggy. Have authorities failed here? Because there are reports this 18-year-old Peyton Gendron had been taken to hospital last year for a mental health evaluation after he suggested he'd carry out a murder-suicide as part of his post-graduation plans. He described the threat as a joke. He was released from hospital and then fell off investigators' radar. Something doesn't seem right. Someone's been asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, it really is a tragedy, and you always wish that these could have been prevented. And it really comes down to you need somebody involved in his life, because if he said it was a joke, you have to believe him. You can't charge him for a crime he hasn't committed yet.
No.
But he certainly needed closer supervision, and especially when they found all the things he had written and posted and planned there was a lot of forethought to this, and there was a lot of time to prevent it before it happened.
Absolutely. It is a predominantly black community with deep faith. As one survivor said, Jesus often says to turn the other cheek, so that's what I have to do. I have to stay positive, but I'm not okay, not one bit. How on earth would you be okay?